I'm Stevie. I read tarot to help you create a more beautiful life for yourself, a life centered around more than just surviving so you can experience transformative relationships, excel in your chosen career, and fulfill your purpose. Thanks for being here with me. I want to invite you to take a few deep belly breaths here, or whatever breath work you feel called to do now. You're welcome to pause the video and return, or just breathe while I talk. I'm going to explain what we'll be doing together. Today I'm sharing with you a timeless reading for each astrological element. I'll create a reading for earth signs, for water signs, for fire signs, and for air signs. We'll be focusing on digging beneath the surface to understand the limiting beliefs that each group is currently outgrowing. Then we will explore what has made transforming beyond the limits of this belief so challenging. Finally, we'll wrap up each reading with specific advice about what can be cultivated or released to allow the embodiment of new, transformative beliefs. Before I start, I always say a prayer to call in guides and protection. If you're open to it, you can join me in this mindful, non-denominational prayer. Otherwise, you may wish to fast forward about 1 to 2 minutes to the start of the reading. First, when I say the word peaceful, what comes to mind for you? Is it a scene, an image, a person, a feeling, a community? I invite you to find a peaceful scene or an image to rest your mind on. It's okay if your mind wanders from this from time to time. When it does, we can simply ask, is it okay if I go back to this now that I've noticed that I wandered? May we all know a life with good physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual health. May we have cool heads and find coolness in the world and those we meet. May we tap into our reserves of fortitude, resiliency, discernment, wisdom, courage, compassion, justice, temperance, clarity, and meaningful connections. May we bring change and transformation everywhere that we go. May we be love that seeks to end domination, disrupt violence, and transmute suffering. Just a few last notes here before we begin. I recommend only watching 2 readings at most to avoid confusion. You can choose what to watch, and I think focus matters the most. So if you're wondering about your love life, a Venus sign focus with maybe meditating on that element could provide some valuable insight for you. Otherwise, I generally recommend watching the readings for your moon sign and your ascendant or rising sign, but watching your sun's element would be great too. Also remember that these are not readings divining or predicting anything about your relationships, your love life, your career, or anything else. Welcome, Earth signs. I'm going to ring a bell here that could be quite loud. So if you need to, you may want to turn down the volume or just tap the button and press fast forward to skip this. Alright, Earth signs, let's begin with your reading. The first question we'll be asking is about what beliefs are limiting Earth signs the most right now. And for this question this is a handmade oracle deck that I've created out of a playing card deck. So I took this regular playing card deck and I did look at, I know tarot meanings for these cards fairly well because I've used these cards to divine and tarot read for people. But I also channeled in messages, and I also did before channeling, or maybe while in the same time as channeling, because it was an ongoing very long process. I also looked at some offerings people give about meanings for these cards that is slightly different than tarot, and just the way, maybe the language and things, but just slightly different meanings from that. So it's considering both tarot and the meanings of the playing cards, which may be quite different from what the meaning of a tarot card is. These have similar suits, there's diamonds, which would be like pentacles, hearts, which would be like cups, spades, which would be like swords, and clubs, which would be like wands. So that is how these kind of translate to each other. So we'll ask these questions and we'll get some multi-layered responses back and some clarification on that as well. We'll use some tarot, I'll be using my Modern Witch tarot deck to clarify. What beliefs are limiting earth signs the most right now? What beliefs are limiting earth signs the most right now? It may get too dark in here in a moment. I may need to grab a light. It's over there on the charger. Okay, do you have any more? What beliefs? Couple more. We'll start here and we'll go into the tarot to get more. My nose is starting to itch. That's a good sign that I'll get some messages incoming. This is my second time recording this video, and I'm trying out new rituals to make sure that I feel grounded throughout the reading. And I think that we'll all get better results as a result of that. So I have a bunch of cards here now that have fallen out that I'm going to read. As you saw, I was just shuffling there. We have the Four of Diamonds. If you can release how, try to rest in. When my blessing arrives, I'll do this. Visualize and smile. Four of Diamonds would be like the Four of Pentacles. Nine of Clubs, Nine of Clubs would be like Nine of Wands. Is this an obstacle or a roadblock? Ask Spirit. Do I retreat or persist? If you're not keen on asking Spirit, you can ask Inner Being, Higher Self, whatever you refer to that as. I think they are, interchangeable for the most part. And higher self is like, I tell people it's kind of like a future version of ourselves, like the version that has like lived life to its fullest and does everything, loves us to our fullest. Like I was reading a book, the Chani Nicholas book, You Were Born for This, that talks about how like the relationship we have to the moon is a relationship that our soul has to us. And so like that is, soul is like inner being, maybe could be. And so like if I look at the moon and I'm like, man, that's beautiful, and man, that's cool, and I have my whole life, so then my soul looks at me and thinks the same thing, like, wow, that's so beautiful, wow, look at you, wow, you're so powerful, wow, that's such an amazing thing. So like my soul is in awe of me, and like, I don't know, that's just like a good thing for me to remember. that was such an interesting thing that came up in that book, and I was like, that's really sweet, I'm gonna remember that for sure. Yeah, especially if we have like a loud inner critic, or you had a critical parent or caregiver growing up, like, yes. And if you're not in awe at the moon, maybe find something else that you are in awe at and be like, what if there's a part of me that looks at me, all of me, the whole of me that's out here in the world doing stuff, like I look at this thing. Wow, yeah. And then you can talk with that part and ask, do I retreat or persist? And perhaps that's one of the beliefs that we're having a difficulty with, is just that communication. That sounded like a confirmation from that tone that came, that notification. And I believe notifications are confirmation. So take what resonates, sit with it. If you're not sure, sit with it longer. Ask questions when you meditate. Ask whoever, ask no one, ask yourself, and just see. And if nothing comes up the first however many times you do it, it's okay. But just, I want to encourage us all to have a relationship with parts of ourselves, and whether that is something you consider divine or not. 9 of Hearts. Your wishes are coming true. Meditate on gratitude for their presence in the now. 9 of Hearts would be like 9 of Cups. I guess I can show too. These all are handwritten little messages that I took a Sharpie and wrote messages on there. I'm going to put that under the 4 of Diamonds because it seems like it's really related to that. The 4 of Diamonds was, if you can release how, try to rest in, when my blessing arrives, I'll do this. Visualize and smile. That was the 4 of Diamonds. And the 9 of Hearts was, your wishes are coming true. Meditate on gratitude for their presence in the now. Which, what that means is like, you know, nothing happens in an instant. Everything is built over time. Relationships are built over time. Their seeds are planted. So what seeds are currently being planted for you to have the outcome that is you desire? Say like you want a marriage, like what seeds are being planted right now? And if it's just like you as a single person, like me, like right now I'm a single person, and so like if I want a committed relationship, as like that's like something that I want for my life, for like a good long stretch of my life, like I don't like to put like really particular parameters on things, and maybe that's like a way of like not getting let down or something, but I like to leave things pretty fluid. But what I can say is that like I can see the seeds being planted right now is that I'm investing time and effort and energy into making sure that I am like taking care of my like past baggage and learning how to speak up for my own needs, and like because for me, like one of my big things is to avoid people. So I'm like coming to a place where I'm understanding that like even people that I really care about, things like the things that I care about the most, I will sometimes pile those things onto my plate more than other things that I don't care about. But then I end up with so much really important stuff on my plate that then I will avoid things that I really, really deeply value, and let things fall to the side. I used to do this a lot, especially when I was like in college. So not so much in the last 3 years, but like over the last like 10 years, I've done this a lot. And so like then I would go into these avoidant tendencies where I didn't even realize that I was being like, I would just like kind of tell myself that it was normal and that people just needed to get used to it, and that that's just the way that I am, and that people, like the people that were right for me, would be okay with that. But in the reality, like I have to put in effort too, and I have to be like willing to like let people in, and that's something I've had to change. So anyways, that came up and wanted to be spoken on. So I don't always try to share a whole lot of my own personal stuff, but I do when I feel like it's going to be helpful. And I like lost my train of thought, so I'm stopping there. Let's go on to more cards here. 5 of Hearts. Meditate on, what have I yet to forgive myself for? Where can I start? Putting that back up on the top row. Meditate on, what have I yet to forgive myself for, and where can I start? Like for me, like that, like avoidance, like I avoided intimacy. So like even when I didn't avoid whole relationships, I would avoid intimacy within relationships, thinking that like that was okay because it relieved me of pressure, because I was becoming dysregulated and emotionally flooded like every time that there was like conflict. And now I see that now it's like that was conflict avoidance. And so that's what I was talking about, was like being able to like show gratitude for the ways that I am like overcoming avoidance all the time. That's something that I'm like focusing on. So showing gratitude for like every time, like I may not even know yet the person that I'm going to end up in a committed relationship with, but I know me and I'm going to be in that relationship, so I can take charge of what I've got on my plate right now, which is that like I want to have like a lot of like fun like hobbies. And so like I have things that I've done for myself this year to bring hobbies into my life, and I've done things to like trim out things that really like have weighed me down. Like I am no longer holding on to like Facebook friends that when I see their icon that it makes me anxious and it steals away my peace. Like, I've decided to do things like that in service to myself and to that future relationship now, so that like when I come to that place and I do have that person in front of me, that I'm like way open to receiving, because I find that I'm not like I find myself finding new places where avoidance is being triggered. So like that, like I said, that's my thing. It could be anxiety, it could be, you know, a different tendency for all of us, but for me it was an avoidance of conflict. And you know, through conflict I have found all the time that when I lean into conflict, not in a violent way, not where I'm being like super aggressive, but in an assertive way, where I'm willing to like say what it is that I want and I need, a transformation happens every time. Sometimes for the worse, sometimes for the better. And in many cases it was like really, really like I would call it violent, because it was just like really intensely isolating and anxiety inducing, and just like it was traumatizing. And those were not great times. But then there have been, since like that, like those initial times that I've been working with this energy, that I've been able to like fully like fall into conflict and find deeper and deeper relational relationships with people that I care a lot about, and that I care about maintaining deep relationships with through difficult times. So it's been rewarding in that way. And it's one of those things where you're like, it's not as rewarding as I thought it was going to be, but it's rewarding. Yeah. So, but I think that's the point of having the gratitude for it now as it's developing, is that like this journey is the reward, that I get to go through this process, that I have had the ability to finally at this age of my life be able to dive head first into what it is that is like holding me back from having the life that I want. Like, I lived a lot of my life where I did not have the privilege of access to all parts of me. And so now that I have that, like, I'm really grateful for it. And so I think that's important, is like, otherwise I've heard, and I haven't had this experience myself, because I am really good with like giving gratitude along the way and enjoying the process of everything. But in relationships, I do struggle with that sometimes. When we don't give gratitude along the way and be really truthfully, like from a generous place, have gratitude for what the process is, and our process and the other person's process, and just experiencing them even if they're not a great fit for us. I think that like we actually experience more of a reward. Like, our brain is able to either like get the dopamine or release the dopamine, whatever it is that's going on. Like, and I've heard research that asserts that that's possibly true. So I just think it's interesting that all this is coming up. And like I said, I would not be speaking this long if I didn't think it was really relevant. And I'm going to keep going and reading these cards and then pulling tarot to really clarify and get deeper and see if there's something that I've said. And if it contradicts, then we'll just go back and say maybe I was wrong, or maybe this is for a different group of people. I have felt called to pivot my attention to sharing more about my avoidant tendencies, because I avoid talking about my avoidant tendencies, because I'm just like, nobody wants to hear about this. And that's really where a lot of it comes from. Like, I now find myself sometimes going on social media and I'm just like, they like talk about people, like people love to get on posts, you know, and like talk about people that like ghost people and things like that. And I'm like, here, I'm a ghost person. Let me tell you why sometimes yes, sometimes people are like totally blatantly like jerks. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, they just like are opportunistic at the expense of others, and that's just what they do. Sometimes also, that's not what's going on. So it is okay to like ask questions and try to get your piece, and know that whatever they give is information. And I think there's a lot of good conversation to be had and shared amongst people sharing more about ourselves, and tarot readers sharing more about themselves as they read. So I think that's why we're called to read, is because of whatever, not just my conscious, but what is existing in my subconscious has something to be expressed here, right? That is relatable. All right, let's continue. I'm gonna get a drink of water. If you want to see like a video about me, about who I am and what I do and why I say what I say and things, feel free to leave a comment and like this video and subscribe and all those good things. That would be great because it helps the channel grow, it helps me attract more people into my videos that would benefit from my messages, even if it's not something that like you particularly like want to watch every, you know, all the videos that follow this. If you watch this video, it would be great if you like this video. Got the Joker without the animal. Time to take that leap of faith into the unknown. We'll catch you. We decay. We regenerate. Amidst all this chaos, we grow. We live. That was the 8 of clubs. 8 of diamonds. Look for an apprenticeship or ask. 8 of pentacles. 8 of diamonds, sorry. So you got 9, 9, 8, 8, 4, 5. Joker. Joker would be like 0. It's interesting. Look for an apprenticeship. I'm going to go ahead and pull out tarot because I've I don't want to say pontificated. I don't know if that's the right word for that, but I might have to grab a light, like I said, in a moment. It's getting pretty dim. I have like the window open where the sun is setting, and then I have like some sheer curtain things in front of it. So. Okay, we're gonna ask for some clarification, and then we'll ask more questions. I have check that laptop here. What's making it so hard to release these volumes. We don't want to go there just yet. So we want to go with the clarification here. I'm just gonna refresh the energy in these cards. I'm like having like a deep personal like vision, like message download coming in. That was interesting. I've not had that happen very often. I felt like a that's so Raven moment where I was like seeing something particular that I need to look into or something. Yeah. Okay. Wow. Thank you. It's clear. Can you clarify for us about this 4 of diamonds? If you can release how? Try to rest in when my blessing arrives. I'll do this. Let's say this first card is about this 4. Oh, and when I pulled it up, it must have been. That was weird. 8 of Swords. So 8 of Swords is like about self-imprisonment. This is a card where an individual is trapped in the middle of, like, I'm pretty sure it's 8 swords. Yeah, 8 swords. They're blindfolded, tied up, and wearing boots, standing in a puddle on some dry earth. 8 of Swords. 8 would usually be about, like, rewards, but this is like, so the Swords one is kind of a little bit more intense, like, suit all over. So the 4 of, sorry, I'm looking at the four diamonds down there. The 8, like the reward is really like what is the like consequence or the outcome, like it's just the result. So the result of like being in the mental state so long, 1 through 7, of this particular suit, like it's all about mental stuff, it's about thoughts, it's about words, it's about it's like all up here in the head. So like the result of spending so much time in our mental states and worrying about our words and thinking about like justice and like even like things like that, like are good things to spend time thinking about, we can end up like in this like self-entrapment kind of thing where we feel like we like, and I'm going to go back to the Four of Diamonds, which says like, when my blessing arrives, I'll do this. If you can release, how? So maybe the self-imprisonment here that we're experiencing with the Eight of Swords is about like our self-imprisonment, about we don't know how we can get it done. We don't know how we can, let's go back to the analogy of the relationship. We want 10 of Cups, big happy family. Maybe we have part of our family now and we want to like find somebody with a family to merge with, like whatever it is that we are doing. We just know that like we want that like family life, and that includes like being able to like work in a way that like we get to like spend time with our and focus on our family. Like maybe that's being home for dinner every night, maybe that's having weekends, all the weekends off, maybe that's having like time to take a vacation for 2 weeks every year to this one particular place, whatever that is for your mindset where you're at. So like maybe this self-imprisonment is blocking you from even being able to like imagine yourself having that blessing. And that's what this suggestion was like the belief that's holding you back is something that's telling you that like you're not capable of having what it is that you want, either because you're not like smart enough, good enough, pretty enough, like you're damaged in some way, which that's not true. Like perhaps it's like not available to you is the thought. Perhaps it's the idea that that you don't like maybe even want it because you've seen what other people have and seen some of it fall apart, and you think that like because it's fallen apart for those people that then it's not like possible that it's anything good for you, like that there will be anything good. And so like you're thinking maybe like I'm deluding myself and even thinking that I can have that thing. So those are kind of some of the ways that I think that we can like really like kind of talk ourselves out of something that we want. And it's really because we get caught up on the how, and rather than, and I think that's like a core basic function of like a lot of religions, but especially like Christianity, was like to like have this mechanism of like you can ask for what it is that you want and you don't have to like ask them how. And correct me if I'm like misspoken and it's not Christianity based, like it's something that goes beyond that, like I totally want to know that. But from where I'm at in my perspective, I'm seeing that definitely there's a connection, that there is like just like the idea that like I can just come to you with I need to get to work every day and I'll accept whatever way. If you're gonna send me an Uber, a Lyft, or whatever, if you're gonna send a taxi cab, if you're gonna send my mom to come and pick me up, like whichever way that it is, I just need to get a ride to work. And it's like, so then giving up that question to like, the universe or to the divine or to spirit or to whatever it is that we believe, that we have a relationship with. Which I think is like this, is a word for like the collective energy that we think that we were, that is our source, that we have come from. So anyways, then like, if we're not catching ourselves up on I can't even envision it, I don't want to get attached to the feeling, I don't want to long for this thing because I'm afraid that I'll never be able to get it done, then we are like trapping ourselves in not being able to get it done. So that is what I'm seeing here, is that the limiting belief is that because of our limitations, we can't even take the time to dream of the future of what we want. And I personally think that's the most important thing that we can do. I'm pretty sure that comes from, like, Adrienne Marie Brown talks about a lot about, like, dreaming about futures. And I know that other people have too as well. And it's just one of those things that, like, as that came up, I was like, that just makes so much sense, because that's definitely what has kept me going up until this point in my life. That's something that I could not have, like, gotten past here. So I'm gonna just kind of tell you what we had. Otherwise, the cards. 9 of Swords, which shows a person crying on a bed with 9 swords on the wall. They're, like, burnt out, tired, that kind of thing. So, like, if that might resonate with you. And then the Sun, but the Sun was reversed. This is, like, relationship, like, healthy relationship with the inner child. So perhaps, like, we have a disconnect from our inner child. Perhaps we have a critical relationship with our inner child, where when our inner child speaks up and says, like, I want something, perhaps it's doing so in an, you know, what's called an egotistical way. So, like, our or an immature way, like, our inner child comes up and, like, acts in a way that is, like, very forceful or coercive in order to get its needs met. And it's doing that because we've been in this critical relationship where we think that its needs can be suppressed or completely forgotten, and that's not true. So because we have done that, like, we've, like, then disconnected from this inner child. And so that could be part of what's going on here. If you are an earth sign and any of that's going on, you know, feel free to drop any questions you have down below. And also think about, like, booking personal readings to go deeper into what that might mean for you personally, if that's, like, really resonating with you. Dealing with inner child blocks is not a joke. It's really difficult stuff to, like, work through, and go to where you're called to, obviously. But yeah, I think that's something that it's tough, but it's something that I definitely feel like I could help pretty much anyone find a way to get in touch with their inner child. Something I've been really good at is helping like, children that I've worked with, young people that I've worked with, and parents alike be able to tap into their creative sides. And it's really fun. So I know that, like, it can seem really intimidating, but it's a good process, and it's really, like, healing for everybody that I've seen go through it. It gets a little, like, panicky at times, a little bit, I'm not gonna lie. I'm gonna hopefully wrap this reading up in about 15 minutes or so. So, Spirit, will you clarify for us about the 9 of Clubs? We got Knight of Swords, which Knight of Swords in reverse. So that's, like, a recklessness with, like, I think a recklessness with words. So perhaps we have run into somebody on the outside. This was 9 of Wands, 9 of Clubs, 9 of Wands that we're clarifying. Ask Spirit, do I retreat or persist? Is this an obstacle or a roadblock? And perhaps we've run into somebody who is seeming a little immature, seeming a little reckless, seeming a little bit like they might think that they are, so this is the Knight of Swords, they may think that they are, like, you know, a knight on a white horse, but they may also not realize how, like, much resistance to, like, being in the full, like, charming, and, like, this could allude to somebody dishonest, because swords deal with words and honesty and things like that. It could also just deal with somebody who, like, comes across as being more, like, mature than they are, somebody who comes across as being more grounded than they are, somebody who comes across with being more intentional than they are, somebody who just like has it kind of like an image that they're kind of put together, and that they're, you know, but maybe they're a workaholic, maybe they're, you know, like, they're very, very invested in this knight role, but they're very and in that identity, like, this identity of being the knight, but perhaps not in, like, proceeding to the next round and understanding that progression and growth. Yeah, that's what I'm seeing there. So that's a little disappointing to feel. I feel disappointing feeling, like, not my own feeling, but coming in from collective. I'm like, oof, oof. Disappointing. What about Spirit? What about the 5 of Hearts here? meditate on what I have yet to forgive myself for. Where can I start? Can you clarify here? What core belief is this holding us in our friends' battles? And if that other one, the Knight of Swords, I'll see, like, they told me to go back to this and they said, look, we got a lot to say. So on that Knight of Swords, can you clarify for us on that Knight of Swords? No, I said no. Look, all these cards are way mixed up. Wow, wow. Okay, everything is way mixed up. This is wild. Oh, that's important. So the Knight of Swords could be us. Like, we're being reckless, we're being immature, we're like thinking, like, if we're having avoidant thoughts, we're kind of like, whatever, like, that person probably hates me, whatever, I can't go back now, whatever, I don't have to apologize, whatever, I don't know that to them. I'm trying to remember, like, all the thoughts that come up in my head, and like the resistant thoughts that keep us from, like, leaning into love. Be us, committed so hard to going forward fast and staying on our horse that we forget that the horse belongs to somebody else and it's not that big of a deal. All right, there we go. 5 of Hearts. We got 7 of Pentacles. 7 of Pentacles. Is someone checking out their harvest on all their plants over there? It is getting really dark. I'm gonna grab a light. Okay. What's up, buddy? It's hard to see, but we'll make it work. 7 of Pentacles. I drank some water and it made me burp. That's funny. I'm thinking that it's like channeling stuff too. 7 of Pentacles, somebody checking out their harvest. So 7 is like taking a step back, like a retreat, like a spiritual, like, view, like so, like maybe like a more like bird's eye view of things too, like reflection. It's like also like kind of like seeing maybe that there's a reward coming. So how that relates to the 5 of Hearts, 5 of Cups. Meditate on what I have yet to forgive myself for, and where can I start. 5 of Hearts, I'm drawing a blank. Every time I look at these cards, I have a hard time drawing up what the tarot meaning is. Like, it takes a lot for me to conjure that. And here I'm not seeing that. So I'm going to go with what's on the card, the meditate on what I have yet to forgive myself for, and where can I start. Where can I start is reflecting on all of the seeds that I've planted that have have come into fruition for wonderful things. If I'm having a difficult time, looking at the difficult things that I have done, the things that I don't like about myself, the things that I've done to survive, the things that I, would not wish anyone else to have to do, those kinds of things, the things that we just like choose not to think about. Maybe even we want to be able to forgive ourselves for those things, but also we might want to start with on the positive side before we're thinking about that thing that we need to forgive ourselves for. We also go somewhere on the trail where we think about something really impactful and awesome and amazing that we've done. And when we have a difficult time, it doesn't have to be something big. These are both, big and small plants. And I think that we can take on, like I said, that bird's eye view, the spiritual view of seeing like there was something to be taken and transmuted or cherished or enjoyed from each and every part of the plant, of the thing, of all the seeds that we have planted have come into things. And even if we're not enjoying those things, we can go check up on people that we may have planted seeds in their world at some point, positive seeds in their world. We may go back and look at how that has, like, what that has done. Yeah. How about the 9 of Hearts here? Your wishes are coming true. Meditate on gratitude for their presence in the now. What belief is holding us back? The Magician. Do we believe that we can create So again, like, are we having a hard time even like accessing the gratitude? And again, I explained, like, this is gratitude for the seeds that are present now. Like, the full plant isn't there. We want this, you know, the 10 of cups, the full family with the babies and whatever, or the animals and the farm, whatever's the thing. Then perhaps the belief holding us back from meditating on gratitude on like a consistent basis, which is what we need to do, is that if we want the problem to grow that we don't have the relationship, then we'll focus on that part daily. If what we want is for that relationship to continue to grow daily and for us to get to it sooner, maybe, I don't know, I think it comes in its time that it comes, but if we want to be ready for it, then we have to like be in that gratitude consistently for it, as if, like I said, like I want to be the version of myself that I'm going to be in that relationship as soon as possible. I'm pouring into that. I'm going to be in that relationship, so I'm pouring into myself now and making sure, like I said, like cutting away things that are draining me, exhausting me, and making it difficult for me to be emotionally available in my life now. Like, that's important to me, that I am transforming myself in that way. I keep getting notifications, and then also this light is like blinding me. That's funny. I have to try to figure out how to, because I'm using I only have one stand, so I'm like using my stand to hold the phone, and so I have to use a smaller ring light, and it is very bright. And so the Magician, I don't know if I showed the Magician card. This is what is our belief that's blocking us, is that we don't necessarily believe. So, and I talked to this with my mom too, is that the difference between the Fool, which we have the Joker down here, the difference between the Fool and the Magician is that the Fool creates from an internal place. Like, they don't try to change anything in the external world in order to experience the faith that it takes to step off of that hill. Like, that's what the image of the Fool is like somebody, an individual about to step off of a cliff or something. And so like they don't need to see any evidence in the physical world. They don't need to have any power in the physical world in order to take that leap of faith and to jump off the cliff and to know that they will be equipped. Which, you know, it's foolhardy, and that's kind of the point. But the Magician is different, because the Magician has to have a wealth of internal resources in order to wield the power that they wield, but they take external elements from around them and conjure that energy into something. And that doesn't, like, again, that doesn't mean that there's not an internal element to it, but that this is a different kind of creation. And so I'm guessing here, like, the belief is more centered around our ability to control things around us, maybe to create, like, maybe we have someone in mind. Let's go back to your wishes are coming true, meditate on gratitude for their presence in the now. So perhaps you're wanting to really find a way to make this message fit around a current partner that you have, or a current person that you have in mind for being that particular partner. And so that there's just a danger that lies there. There's nothing to say that, like, you can't have that with that partner, but because I don't know, but you know. And if there's strong feelings coming up, it might be a good idea to not listen to this part of this reading for you, or to not focus on this part of this reading, and to not take this, or maybe turn the reading off even. Like, I would fully condone, you know, give you permission, you're allowed to do that. Because here it seems like we might have this desire to want to control and transform the things on the outside of us, and there's a blockage that can exist, and a core belief that can exist, that we have to do it from the external, or that's acceptable and normal and effective. And the reality is, if we want to experience, like again, the 10 of Cups, we want to experience the end all be all for relationships of what we have in mind, whatever that is, then we have to transform. We have to be willing to transform ourselves and to focus all of our energy on that. And our communicative energy is on, expressing ourselves. And that is something that I think the Magician is also working with. But it also comes out in the cards that come after this. I don't want to use the wrong word. I'm in channeling and I'm like using words. And I'm like, I'm not sure if I'm using a word that means what I think it means. But so like again, I see this person who's trying to like say like I've got all this together, I've done all this work, and I'm gonna just like turn my person into my person forever. And it's not possible. I just want to say that there's always an element of, with a core belief being like the core belief issue is the question, that could be someone trying to turn something that is not nurturing them into something that is nurturing them. And that is an impossible puzzle, to try to take responsibility for the part of the relationship that you're not responsible for, because you can't be responsible for somebody else's actions or inaction. Take it from somebody who knows. Let's move on. 8 of Clubs. We got that card fast. 5 of Pentacles, but reversed. So we regenerate, we decay. Amidst all this chaos, we grow, we live. And this is dealing with resisting scarcity mindset. So like, I see this as like scarcity mindset is like something leaving, and like we can go into, scarcity mindset. Sorry, Otis is making noise over there. Scarcity mindset is also like a fixed mindset that, and I don't really love the term scarcity mindset. I want to fully say that. But it's scarcity mindset because it's believing that what has existed in the past is all that ever will exist. So then you can see there's a scarcity of new things. There's a scarcity of new love coming in, if there's any. Scarcity being very, very little. So what I see here is that like the core belief that we're dealing with is like, I'm gonna think on this for a second. Yeah, like we regenerate, we decay is accepting that like we have to like we don't have to, but when we lean into conflict resolution and not conflict avoidance, then we open ourselves to the regeneration process, and parts of us decay. Like I said, like you like end up getting rid of connections that are no longer like helpful, that are not like, that are draining you, that are like frustrating for you because like they're like one-sided obligatory kind of things. And so like we're like, releasing our grip on a set of beliefs. I think a lot of beliefs here, and this card is talking about like the process of all of that. Like there's just like a group of core beliefs that we have that are holding us into thinking that we don't change, and that every part of us that has ever existed is so valuable that we can't let it go. And everything that we considered part of us, like we've had all these attachments and things, like we have to take all of them with us, and all of the pain and all of the grief has to be carried with us forever. I know that I carried that belief for a really long time. Like if I didn't carry the grief of like my best friend that I lost in high school, then maybe it would, be in vain. No, like there are plenty of people remembering them and, and their goodness, which I don't really remember their goodness. So it's better for me and my peace to go ahead and release myself from having to like bring all that up. We got 2 more cards here. And I told you guys we would do actionable steps here, so don't worry. we'll get some advice. For the Joker card, we have the Moon. For the Eight of Diamonds, we got Justice reverse. This is the Moon card. Two people dancing around like a body of water that has like a person or a creature coming out of it. A moon up there above them, shining on them. So this, like, the moon could be a lot of things, and I'm gonna have to ask for more clarification. Time to take that leap of faith into the unknown. We will catch you. So I just see these two people like running down this path, you know, and being chased by their fears. So it's like, even that's what I see, like literally in this picture. I'm just gonna go with my intuitive reading, is that like, if this is you, these people up here, then this is your fear down here, and it's time for you all to take that leap of faith out of the water, naked and all. Somebody stole your clothes. Just go running down that pathway toward the moon. Just do it, and don't worry about how. Don't worry about the how. Remember, we talked about that. Let's focus on doing the work of not trying to control things on the outside, but trying to recognize what we have on the inside that we can let go of. What are we holding on to so tightly, and what have we like put up walls against and said that we don't have any time for, that we just don't care to do. We don't care what people think about us, don't care about being soft and tender. Okay. And then the Eight of Diamonds, we got look for an apprenticeship or ask, and the Justice reverse. Look for an apprenticeship or ask, Justice reverse. Justice can usually mean like the legal system and stuff, but it can also mean anything like adjacent to the legal system. Why did all of that come out? 3 of Wands, Hermit, make an appearance. Let's see if they come out more. I'm glad this is a separate video because it's going to be long. Wow, okay. Give us more insight about what you mean by the Justice reverse card. Do you see this? Like, this is messy. Can you be a little more concise and clear with me, friends? Justice reverse. As far as eliminating belief, what are we getting as a message here? I should take this one. Ace of Swords. 8 of Diamonds. Look for an apprenticeship or ask. Is there something that you need to study? And perhaps you've had a hard time. Ooh, okay. So perhaps we have a passion for something, and we have either taken on given ourselves like license to knowledge that we're not really deserving of, like we haven't really like earned that, like we've like commandeered it in some way, or like we're putting ourselves out there as being more like skilled at something that we need a little bit more like coaching, and like we need to learn a little bit more about something. And so like we need to find someone. It doesn't have to be an apprenticeship necessarily, but we need to find someone that we're comfortable learning from, and recognize like that in doing that, like we're no longer resisting justice. Like this is resisting justice. So whenever we're like resisting the core belief that's keeping us from looking for this apprenticeship or like going to this learning opportunity, is that like it's really uncomfortable to set this right, to like make a move in this direction because maybe no one else has done that. And that's what I see here. Ace of Swords is like, you know, like making sure that you're tapping into like what your truth is, like what reason you're here for, what you have set your values and sights on, like how you want your life to go out. Because like this is like indicative of somebody who is like doing something that hasn't been done in before. Like again, like this is something like justice would be like the way things are typically done, the karma of things, like all of that. So like what is blocking us is that like we're having to face this uncomfortable resistance against doing things that would enact justice, because we've lived in a world where justice reversed is pretty normal, like that. So if you're having a hard time, like speaking out for that, and that was impactful for me. So then let's ask some advice here. How can new expansive beliefs be best be cultivated and embodied? Let me get 1 or 2 cards. 3 of Swords. Grief, betrayal, thinking about like how we're going to deal with this. If we're dealing with, this is 3 of Swords, is a heart pierced with 3 swords, and those 3 swords just like represent like deception, grief, and whatever else I said. So the advice I see here is like, how do you live with this? Your heart is a 3 of Swords, and you have to go on to the 8 of Swords is down here. Like you got all kinds of other swords, the Knight of Swords, and the Knight of Swords. So how's this Knight of Swords riding that horse with this 3 swords in his heart? So like, though we have been through these things, how do we lighten our heart? How do we either remove the swords, and do the surgery that's necessary, which is a delicate process, if I understand it correctly, that we have to like be very diligent in the way that we do that. So how do we take care of our heart? And I think that's a good question, is asking ourselves, am I taking care of my heart? Today, we can ask ourselves that at the end of the day, at the beginning of the day, how will I take care of my heart? We can ask ourselves throughout the day, is this showing me, am I taking care of my heart? Am I showing myself how I take care of my heart? And I think that's what's coming up here. Any more advice for us on how to deal with this? How can new expansive beliefs best be cultivated and embodied? We also got the Page of Swords, which is Page of Swords reversed, but Knight of Swords is what we got that we were talking about. That could be us. Page of Swords is like a little bit more playful, a little bit more willing to embody that. And I think that's what I'm taking from this here, is like, this is the embody a little bit more playfulness, a little bit more willing to be adventurous, things of that sort. Otis, are you okay, buddy? Not sure. So advice there is embody and welcome in a little bit more playfulness in little ways, whether that's like, again, like with a relationship, with a person, with ourselves. I think it, like, again, it has to be ways that we do with ourselves, and then that we then are extending that, sharing that out with others. The Queen of Cups was the other. So maybe this is about a relationship. It could be, because this could be about being willing to know that, like, even in a relationship, like, we're responsible for taking care of our own hearts. We're responsible for taking care of, like, if our heart hurts, we're responsible for telling the other person, like, you're hurting my heart, or you're hitting one of the swords that is currently going through my heart that I have a hard time, I haven't had yet to go through the surgery to remove it. Please don't bump into me that way. Please be careful. When you bump into me that way, it hurts, Can we be a little bit more intentional with what we're saying with each other, or how we're doing this or that? Queen of Cups here is speaking emotionally from the heart. Open the floodgates, pour out your heart, say what is coming up for you, and it's upright. And this is about, like, if you need to, first hold that stuff for yourself, with yourself, validate yourself, and say, like, it's okay that you say this, we're practicing them here, whatever it is, like, validate yourself first, so that whenever you take it to them, that you can say, like, here is my little cup of all of my feelings, and I'm here to share this with you. I want us to get along again, and I just want to know, is that possible, So there you go. That's advice that we have here. And then I have a surprise. We're going to do a yes or no question, so go ahead and think of a yes or no question that you have. can pertain to what we're dealing with here, something a little bit different. Spirit, give us a yes or no answer on our magic 8 ball here and tell us. Okay. Outlook, good. Wow. Take a drink of water. Thank you for watching. I would really appreciate it if you would like this video. It helps it circulate to more people so they can benefit from it. And you can also comment below how, like, what made sense for you, what didn't make sense for you, and let me know if you want to see more content about like the core beliefs, limiting beliefs, and reprogramming beliefs and thoughts. I really got a coffee at the end. Thank you again. It's really been a pleasure reading for you all, and until next time.